Listen, this is Anne-Marie, host of About This Life. About This Life is navigating those changes, those changes, those moments in life that change us, the ones we choose and the ones we don't choose. And
Mhm.
sometimes we have to pivot in our life and make different decisions. And when we do that, we become a light to other people. So it is my pleasure. It is my privilege to have as my guest today Mr. Jamaal Blackroot Collier, or Collier, depending on your taste. Hey, Jamaal, how are you doing?
I'm well, Miss Anne Marie. I'm doing really well. I'm a little tired, but it's a good tired.
Doing what you do best. And one of the things that you do, many things that you are a teaching artist, which would be why you would be in schools to begin with.
Absolutely.
You are an MC, you're a beatboxer. Okay, stop me if I'm if I'm incorrect.
I'll take it
What
down.
else? You do spoken word, you make it to rhythm, to sound, and you help with that
Mhm.
intentionally. And now you are an author of said book, and I have it right here. So thank you for dropping it off for me today. And I want to do it a little differently this round, this second chance. I want to go with something shorter because I've had a chance to read Bearded Thoughts, Affirmations, Mantras, and Stray Hairs of Wisdom. I
Mhm.
love the metaphor. I love how you make that connection. But one of the things that you write in your book is make sure you speak to yourself with kindness, honesty, grace, optimism, encouragement, and care. Your self talk reflects how you show up for yourself and others. Why those adjectives? Why kindness, honesty, grace? Why those particular words?
Well, kindness, because I think sometimes we conflate kindness with niceness. And
What's the difference?
I think that you can be kind while not necessarily coming off as nice, and you could be nice without necessarily being kind. So what is kind, right?
Yeah.
Kind to me is like touching grass. It's kind of it comes off as a foundational effort of leading with love, whereas nice strikes me as superficial, window dressing,
Mm,
or clothing that you could take on and take off to make appear, or makeup even better, to appear a certain way that isn't necessarily the genuine intention. But if you're leading with kindness, to me, that's synonymous with leading with aspects of love. But when you're leading with niceness, there's ego involved and there is a way that you want it to look specifically for a desired result, as opposed to really having a genuine, authentic interest in being concerned. So,
okay.
yeah,
You're going deep already because I think about how many times people say, "Oh, that's nice," and are they genuine? Are they
right.
authentic? Do they mean something else? And then you answer the question for me in terms of it might be a reflection really of ego and projection rather than something that comes from the heart.
For
Would you
sure.
agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's why we call you Black Root.
I get to the root. I try to stay grounded and balanced as I can. But,
You do.
I'm human.
You do. So let's get to some more roots. Where did you first see yourself, fully yourself? And I don't mean in an egotistical way. I mean, how did you know and come to accept yourself?
I looked in the mirror. I was in the
Hmm.
11th grade, and I remember looking at myself and believing all of the positive things that people told me. My mother had planted seeds of confidence and belief in me for years. And at that time in the 11th grade, so I had to have been 16, 17. And I looked in the mirror, and on that day, I believed her. But more importantly, I believed in myself in a way that I had never truly believed in myself before. Because I felt I always believed my mother when she said certain positive things about me, but I didn't fully believe it myself, in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think that was a moment, that was a big moment for me. And I just continued to grow in understanding who I was from there.
Well, shout out to your mom. I
Every
mean, that's
day.
some that's something kind of special because sometimes it takes someone into their adulthood to really have an understanding, especially when we live in a society that tends to either tear you down
Mm-hmm.
or stereotype you. So, what are some of the stereotypes you've had to confront?
Hmm. Funny enough, I don't try to really focus on those too much, but they come up. So one stereotype that's prevalent that is easily dispelled if you're really paying attention is that Black men don't take care of their families.
Mm,
Black men aren't present for their children. Um, we're also conditioned to believe that Black men have two options of emotion: being all right or being angry. And there is a multitude of other options in there. You can be joyful, you can be cheerful, you can have alacrity, you can be there's so many different you could be generous, you could be kind, you could be confused, you could be frustrated, you could be sad, you could be
mhm.
disappointed. But generally, I'm good. I'm all right.
Why do you think we only see the two things? You know, I'm good or I'm angry. Why do we only see those um, opposing forces and we don't see the complexity of who you are?
Well, I think that we is a statement that I want to be very conscious and aware of. I would
Hmm.
replace that we with some, because everybody
Okay.
doesn't think that way, fortunately. And there are a lot of us that do not. And I'm definitely a proponent of knowing that the words we say reverberate like a pebble
Yes.
in a lake, you know? So I would rather say, and truthfully say, that some of us see it that way. Even though I knew your intent, I also know that words are important to go with the intent. So
Absolutely.
I think that some people see it that way, in that limiting way, because you are what you eat. And sometimes what you eat isn't what you digest in terms of food. Sometimes what you eat is what you digest in terms of social media, in terms of
Mhm.
written media, in terms of conversation. If you're, I'm very blessed with wise counsel. So a lot of
Yes.
the people in my circles, because I have a lot of different circles of people that I consider friends and people that I consider family. And the majority of them I would consider wise counsel. There's some people who move through this journey and they have counsel, but the quality of their wisdom is suspect. I'll say that. And fortunately, there's a level of discernment that when the quality of the counsel I seek may be suspect, the universe kind of aligns with me and lets me know, like, hey, maybe you should revisit that statement, that question. And sometimes it comes quickly, sometimes it takes a while. But I think that some of those people who don't have that wise counsel around them succumb to what is popular and normalized as opposed to what is the truth in some cases.
What is the truth? And is it that some people, see, you're teaching me already. Is it that some people feel they have to follow the popularity contest, that they have to say certain things to fit in? Is that the why?
I think it's one of the whys. Unfortunately, I don't think it's a black and white, this is exactly what it is. I think it's a multitude of things. I think that why could be as convoluted as the systemic oppression that helps to further fuel that why. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so when you think about uh, checkers or Connect Four, that those are very basic. You got a red circle, you got a black circle. The goal is to get four in a row,
Yes.
up,
Right.
down, left, right, diagonal, right? Um, I think that the aspects of systemic oppression that help to fuel that that why that you're asking is more of like an area rug. And if you pull one thread and you have that, okay, well, I see this thread. This thread is a part of the problem, but there's still an entire rug there. And there are a lot of people that are utilizing that rug in that area, not realizing they can step away from it. But it'll still exist. So I'm not going to act delusional as if it doesn't exist. Um, because and even if it doesn't exist, the effects of the belief of its presence do exist. So I think that that's a big issue.
I want to go back a moment from when we started just a few minutes ago. You just listening to you speak, you're very prolific in coming up with metaphors and imagery to help bring your point across. Everybody doesn't have that gift. Is that just something that's in you that you're born with? How did you cultivate that? Because you not every single question I've asked you in the last few minutes, you've given me visualization, imagery, or something else to consider. How did you develop that gift?
I think if I were to pinpoint some of it, and I might need to meditate and really think about that more so, but briefly, I listen visually. So it helps me to speak visually as
Okay,
well.
pause. Pause, because even those two words together, you listen visually. Okay, go ahead. I had to pause because I'm like, how does somebody listen visually? Go ahead.
Well, in some cases, when you're talking and let's say you're telling me a story,
Hmm.
I'm envisioning that story as you're telling me, whether you use figurative language or not. You can just say, I was walking up the street and I went to the store. So in my brain, I already see a store. It might not be the store where you were. You might have went into a bodega, but in my brain, I went to a Walmart and you're standing in front of the Walmart. And I don't necessarily know what you're wearing, but you're going into the store. And then as you tell me this story, the color of the conversation changes based on your emotions, based on the specificity of what you're sharing. So I listen visually. And then I also, one of my base things is, hold on for a moment. Yes, there.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, you can. The background is muted and you're not even in the shot. All right. So I listen visually, but I also want to be heard and understood. And I also want you to know that I hear you and understand you. So what I do in a lot of cases is when you tell me something, I'll repeat it back to you, but I'll repeat it back to you in my words. And then I may give an example. And then I'll say, oh, well, you might feel like blase blah. And then you'll
Hmm.
say, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. And I won't just regurgitate your words back to you in some cases. I'll come up with an example, which may be an analogy of something else to let you know that I understand what you just said as we're in conversation. And I'm actually
Okay.
working on sometimes just listening more and not always providing that analogy, because what I don't want to do is make you feel that I'm hijacking the conversation or imposing my narrative onto what you're sharing. So I'm working on that too. Because I know with some people, they've had people in their lives that have hijacked the narrative of them in a conversation or put whatever they're sharing at a higher level of importance than what the person was just sharing and not actively listening. So that's a whole nother conversation. But I think about those things when I'm having a conversation with somebody. But since you're interviewing me and we are having a conversation,
Right.
I have a little bit more leeway to be colorful like that.
You do, and I appreciate the color in the responses because I just view it as a gift, and to be able
Okay.
to do that and to do that as quickly, And is that what we see on stage when you perform? You are well known in the Baltimore area, in the DMV.
Mhm.
Every time I look up, you're performing somewhere, somehow, someplace, and you're like telling your people, pull up, pull up. A lot of
Pull
people
up.
know Black Root, pull up. Yes, pull up. Okay, so you travel in those circles, and what is that like in terms of performing? How are you? How, what kind of thrill does that give you when you perform?
Oh, uh, a thrill. Sometimes I do feel thrilled. Sometimes I love the vibe and I buzz for days or weeks. But every time it's food. It's nourishment. So I learn as much from the people who are at an event where I'm performing as they may learn from me. And then sometimes I learn more from them. And
Mhm.
especially if it's an event where there are multiple people sharing their art form or their gifts, I have an opportunity to really see how they share what's on their mind. And I get excited and motivated and inspired to share what's on my mind in the way that I do. So I just enjoy it.
Let's talk about the way that you do, because about this life is how we find these moments that shape us and shift us and transform us.
Mm-hmm.
Why spoken word? Why poetry? And are there differences in the art form? Uh, and poetry is like this big general statement, but
Mm-hmm.
why spoken word? Why you describe it to me? Why
Mm.
what beatboxer? Why poet?
I love all of the things. I think, well, obviously, spoken word is in the family of poetry. Rap is in the family of poetry. And figurative language is absolutely at the cookout when you're talking about poetry. So, um, one thing we do as humans is talk. There are not many other mammals on earth that can speak the way we do. So, I actually wrote a song called My Face Makes Noise, right? So, um, our diaphragm, our lungs, part one. Then the
Mhm.
next part is our vocal folds, our larynx. And that the lungs allows the air to come into our bodies to breathe and kind of make noise, right? Then it gets to this point. Without the larynx and the vocal folds, the noise doesn't happen. We just have breath,
Right.
which is very important and valuable, invaluable actually. But
Yes.
then we have the lips and the teeth and the gums and the jaw, and those are the articulators. Outside of parrots, crows, and sometimes cats and dogs, when you kind of catch them at the right moment and it sounds like they're talking, um, we clearly speak. You know, crows can clearly speak. I just learned that a couple
Hmm.
of weeks ago. That was kind of as interesting as it was kind of scary. I was like, how do they do that? They don't have lips. So how do they shape the sound to get those words out? Like, what are their tongues doing to do that? But
And the
that's another conversation.
vibrations, right?
Yeah, so it's really cool. But yeah, there's a lot of nonverbal communication that takes place. But since we are capable of speaking, I I utilize that. And I also utilize through beatboxing, I utilize making sound. So
How did you know that this is what you wanted to do? Because not only are you a performer, you're a teaching artist. And what that basically means to our listeners is that you go into schools, as you said, you were in a school today,
mhm.
and you teach the kids, you teach the youth your art form. How did you know, this is a real thing for you that you're gonna throw your hat in and try to make this a living and make this a living, actually, as
Yeah.
opposed to doing something else? You know, how did you know? What was that in a compass that went off? Here
Well, give
you
me
have me making up metaphors too.
I like it. I like it. But let me give you a let me give you a give me a moment, please. I need to my laptop is about to die, so let me charge it. But I'm
Absolutely,
serious,
real life, right?
right? And I think we are good at the charge. And there we go. All right, good.
There we
So
go.
yeah, how did I know? I always, well, not always, but I would say in college when I fell in love with hip hop and I became a student of hip hop, at that point I knew whether I was making a living off of it or not, I was going to write. I was going to perform. The capacity and the scale was something that just hit me in a different space because I went to college to be and that to do something in the medical profession and also to do theater. I fell in love with theater in high school. So I have to thank, funny enough, I cannot remember the name of the teacher, but I remember when I was in the 11th
Mhm.
grade, a lot of things happened in the 11th grade. I never put those two together.
Apparently
But
so.
yeah, when I was in the 11th grade, I had an English teacher and she said, Jamaal, you have a lot of charisma. You should take drama next year in your senior year. And at that time in my brain, I knew that there were actors on television and there were actors in film and there were actors on stage and theater. I never realized that they got paid for that. Like it's common
Mhm.
sense that they do, but I never thought about it. And I never thought about it as a profession. I always admired what my mother did, and she was a nurse. So whenever I got injured, I would avoid certain hospital visits because she could take care of everything. She would triage me and assess and treat and do all that in the house. So I would never have to leave the house. Well, not never because I was, a child
Right,
and
I got it.
I went to the hospital a couple of times, but I admired that. So I majored in theater with an acting major track, and I majored in kinesiology under the concentration of allied health profession. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, so I was a athletic trainer for about 6 or 7 years, and then I did strength and conditioning. But all this time, I'm still writing, I'm still
Mhm.
rapping, I'm still hosting events, I'm creating events that I'm hosting, and I fell in love with hip hop in my junior year in
Mhm.
college, and I had a roommate, and yeah, I just started doing that, and I didn't know it was gonna be a full-time thing until I won a poetry slam in Baltimore, and I met
Mhm.
somebody by the name of Brendan Reagan at Young Audiences of Maryland, which is a nonprofit. How I Met You, and
Yes.
now they're
Yes.
called Arts for Learning, and
Correct.
yeah, he told me about what they were doing, and at that time, I told myself when I was doing athletic training, I gave myself a certain amount of years that, okay, I am going to do this for a certain amount of years, and then I'm going to really dig into my theater, acting, film career. And then I fell in love with hip hop, and things kind of changed. And there was an aspect of theater where I was like, okay, well, theater is my first love, but man, this hip hop thing, this is crazy. So then I
Mhm.
figured out how
Mhm.
to kind of mesh the two, and I realized when I was on stage, I was doing a lot of things that were theatrical in terms of stage presence, so I could still feed both realms at the same time. So it was kind of like a
Amazing.
yeah, so it's kind of like a polyamorous relationship with music and theater, if you will. So that's pretty cool.
Amazing. There's an instrument that you play, or at least you're posed with, and I don't know the name of the instrument.
I
What's
appreciate
the name
that
of that
because a lot,
instrument? It looks pretty impressive.
yeah, you're referring to the didgeridoo,
Say it
the
again.
didgeridoo. So
Okay,
that
what?
is
So describe
so
it.
that is it's a woodwind instrument. It is indigenous to the land of Australia, and the people
Mm,
indigenous to that land play it. I believe that its origins stem from eucalyptus wood and it's hollowed out by termites. You could put beeswax at the top where the mouthpiece would be to create that sound. And the reason I even did it when my first child was born, I was at home with him and I had a friend who had a didgeridoo made of bamboo. And he said, well, I don't need it. Do you want it? And I was like, sure. And then I looked up and researched like what it would do, and it helps to strengthen your diaphragm. And I thought to myself, well, I can rap pretty fast. I can, have a stage presence and speak and project, but a stronger diaphragm seems like something that would help me in this line of work. So I started playing around with it, and I noticed when I was playing the didgeridoo, my son would be calmer and he would focus on the
mm,
vibration of the sound. And then I noticed, I mean, I also played the saxophone for several years in elementary school and high school. And I had another saxophone player friend give me a hint on how to do circular breathing. So while my
mhm,
child was between the ages of like 4 months and a year, I picked up circular breathing over a couple of months and I just kept
mhm.
focusing on how to do it and I got it. And then I realized that same resonant frequency that my child got calmed and paid attention to, when I hosted events, I would just randomly bring I was the only person who looked like me walking around Baltimore with a didgeridoo. So that already took a lot of energy. Oh, what's he doing? Then I'm walking in DC. Then I'm walking in New York. Then I'm walking in Virginia. Then I'm in Pennsylvania with a didgeridoo. So it became
It's a
a
talking
staple.
piece.
Yeah, right. And then I would use it. So then when I would use it, people were like, and the microphone just gave it more space. So yeah, so that's an
Okay.
instrument that I play. But literally, I know there's more things to unlock for it. I believe my didgeridoo, I could play it at a B natural and a C. But I couldn't, don't get me to tell you which one I'm doing, but I could try my best to kind of stay in that space. And I know I could probably
Yeah,
bend the notes and go other places, but I haven't really dug into it that deep.
we have to drum up the picture for that and show the listeners what it looks like, because there's just one scene where you're sitting in this chair. It almost looks like a throne, and you're
Mm-hmm.
holding it. So it was pretty cool. But you are obviously connected to a creative community. And yes, I met you through Young Audiences,
Uh-huh.
the nonprofit, and you came into the classroom a couple of times actually. And you collaborate with a lot of people. And I know Femi the Dry Fish is one of your collaborators. And I'm trying to think, who else have you worked with? And how does that work for you? Because collaborations are not always easy to navigate,
True.
but you guys, you make it natural. So, how else? Who else did
Oh,
you work with? And how does collaborating in a creative community, how does that work for you? Because you guys have done a couple of rap songs, even on the Beard before you came with the book.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had the pleasure of working with countless people. I'll name a few, but I don't want to make anybody else seem like they're less amazing. But off the top of my brain, I've definitely collaborated with Femi the Drop Fish. I've
Mhm.
collaborated with Ab Rock. I actually just spoke to him today. I collaborated with Mr. Word. I collaborated with the Kelly Bell Band. Well, yeah, I collaborated with them. I sat in with them from time to time. Jasmine Pope, she goes by J Pope. She's amazing. Queen Earth. I was a part of a band called the Queen Earth Band. I can even go back and I do a lot of twos. So there was a gentleman, or is a gentleman, he's still a good friend of mine, Max Bent, and we
Mhm.
were the Beatbox Dads
Mm.
for a time. I noticed working in twos just works really good for me. And I got two kids, so so that's a two. So I got a whole bunch of
So
twos
that's
going.
it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And then of course, in order to have the two kids, I had to be with somebody to have the two kids. That's two. So all the twos were, and then I worked with you at Samuel Ogle Middle School, and
right.
that was amazing. And fortunately, I didn't bother you too much, so you invited me back a couple times, so that worked out.
Absolutely. And all of the people that you just named, phenomenal in their own right, and just amazing artists. And I appreciate the respect that you all in terms of homage. Just because you're not mentioned doesn't mean that you're less great. So we want
Absolutely.
to shout out to all of the talented artists that are doing their thing, that are following their passion, if you would. So, one of the things I want to go to next, before we wrap up, is this connection. So, the first segment of our conversation is focused on your passion and who you are. So, how your identity is connected to your passion. But then you've mentioned your mom, you've mentioned your kids, and you've been a family. You come from that foundation in terms of family. And you actually wrote a poem, it's on the poster behind me. In terms of Black women, we should love Black women, and so on and so forth. What was the inspiration for that? Talk to us a little bit about that, and then talk to
Oh,
us about your kids.
yeah. Well, I wrote that in the book. So that poster is art that I collaborated with Kevin Johnson, and the book is published through Ironweed Publishing. And hold on for a moment. Yes. Oh, you
Hmm.
got that? My daughter has her hair up kind of like mine, but it's a little higher, and she's giggling.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, so
Does
Ironweed
she have
Publishing.
locks too?
She does not, but she has twists. They look good. They look good.
Okay. Okay.
So Ironweed Publishing, and I have a collaboration with me and Kevin, and these are my words, and he created he created the visual to go with the words and the font, and it's an amazing collaboration that we have with that. Um, but I wrote those things because I believe them.
Hmm.
Not to really elaborate too much on it, but I think that yeah, I think that we should listen to Black women, and there's a level of care and protection that they deserve, regardless of where our interest lies, with or without them, because
Hmm.
we need each other. So I think that's very important to know.
Okay. What do our boys need to hear that schools are afraid to say? Because you said your mom is your foundation. 11th grade, you looked in the mirror and then you had the epiphany. You believed in yourself. What do our boys need to hear?
Mm. That they're loved, that they're supported, that they're seen, that they can make mistakes. Uh, Making mistakes are okay. It's okay to be wrong, but it's not okay to stay wrong. um, and I think that knowing where you come from, and knowing where you come from in terms of knowing what beautiful groundwork was laid before you. Knowing some of the hardships is important too, but I think sometimes we focus too heavy on what is missing as opposed to what's actually present. And I think that's really
Mm,
important. So knowing what's present, I think at every uh, the majority of meetings I have with children, and even I'm starting to trickle it into adult meetings as well. I have people repeat mantras, and I have them say, "I'm important, I'm valuable, I will learn from my mistakes and the wisdom of others, and I have wisdom within myself." Because everybody has an important story to tell, and in a given classroom or in a given space, everybody knows something that somebody else doesn't know that can help benefit them. Everybody has virtues, and everybody
hmm.
has these tools. Some people aren't aware of the capacity or the length or scope of their tools, but everybody has virtues within them, and not just one, the whole gang of them. You know, so I
Absolutely.
and I think that the children need to know that they are valuable, and not just because somebody said they look good or because they got some money or their outfits look nice. They're valuable because they're here, and we're just being here is a miracle. When you think about procreation and what that looks like there are many of us that aren't here.
Yeah.
And I think just knowing that we are here, we have an opportunity every day. Every day we're here, we survived 100% of the hardships that happened yesterday. And
Hmm.
that's huge.
That
And
is huge.
know that we love them, you know. I think that that's really important as well.
And so, what do we
As
want
well
our
as
daughters?
black, yeah, I was about to say as well as daughters, which you just asked about the boys, but the
Hmm.
ladies absolutely need that as well. And they need it from everybody. They need it from people who look like me. They need it from people who look like you. And we need to be on the same page with that. And they need it from people that look like them in their peer group. Like that type of support is also important. And that's what I love.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. And to get to what you do in your with your skill set and your talent and your gift,
Mhm.
to see students get up together and support each other. Um, like to see people in your space support each other the way that I see them support each other should not be the exception. It should be the authentic rule. And I love being a part of that and watching.
Absolutely. And thank you for saying that. And I'm just I'm pleased. You see, you have me think about my words now. I'm I'm appreciative. I am humbled by your dedication in my book. I read it when you dropped it off, and of course, many things going on at the same time when you dropped it off.
Yeah,
But when I came home and was able to sit with it for a moment, um, it just says Miss Anne Marie, educator, mother, mentor, advocate, champion of children, poet, writer, inspirational protector of culture, brilliant Black woman. And I went, so I want to thank you for gifting me with this book, Bearded Thoughts, Affirmations, Mantras, and Stray Hairs of Wisdom. And believe it or not, you inspire me because I always talk about, one day I'm going to write my book, write my book. I need to get to it.
Yeah, you got to get to it to get through it, for sure.
I need to get to it. Listen, how do people get in contact with you? How do people follow you? How do people, pull up?
Oh yeah, you can pull up to the website. It's Roots Bearded Thoughts, ROOTSBeardedThoughtscom. That's a lot of letters. But Roots Bearded Thoughts spells grammatically correct, rootsbeardedthoughts.com. They could also follow me on Instagram, Black Root and the number one, BLACKROOT, the number one. And you could Google me. I'm Black Root Underground. It's the name of my band. And I have some of my own solo things on there. I'm also on Bandcamp, streaming platforms. You can find me on YouTube on I Never Knew TV. I'm giving my first book interview there with the brother Linton Hines Jr., amazing brother
Right.
that I've known from years back. Just a powerful brother. And yeah,
Okay.
so just a lot of beautiful ways to get in contact with me. But Roots Bearded Thoughts rootsbeardedthoughts.com is the first way. That's like the entryway, and it has all the other contacts that way.
Absolutely. And you have a community, right? An online community.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah,
that
it's pretty
that you're
cool. It's
building.
pretty
So
cool.
so yeah, so we want people to come on out and join your community. Listen, if this conversation with Jamaal, if this conversation stirred something in you, please pass it on. Someone in your circle is waiting for this message. Someone in your circle is waiting for this. So, Jamaal, I want to thank you so much for being my guest on About This Life, where we are adding life to our years here on this earth.
Thanks.
Amen.
Thank you for being you, for
Thank you
sure.
so much.